Welcome to Manifest This, Believer versus Skeptic. I'm Sharon Giroux, your resident skeptic who asks all the tough questions. And with me is Jennifer Neal, our manifesting maestro. Whether you're rolling your eyes or raising your vibration, we dive into all things manifestation, mindset, and energy from every side. Hit subscribe, settle in, and get ready for spirited debates, surprising experiments, and laughter on the journey to creating a life you love.
Okay, so this feels a little strange. It's my first solo episode without Sharon. Usually I have my resident skeptic sitting across from me. Well, virtually at least, as we know she's in Malaysia and I'm in North America. But usually she sits across from me and she raises an eyebrow and she challenges me and she keeps it honest. But today Sharon is traveling for work, actually living out one of her life's dreams, manifestations, traveling aboard cruise ships all around the world. And interestingly, the skeptic didn't disappear. Just because she's not going to be on this podcast episode, she has not disappeared. She just moved inside of my head. And I think that that's actually the perfect place for us to start. Over the past few weeks, I have been quiet. I have been quiet recording. I have been quiet on the social media front. I have been quiet on not recording my thoughts and my views and my opinions on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook. And it's not because I didn't have anything to say. It's more because the believer in me and the skeptic in me were having a full-blown boardroom meeting. So let me tell you what this was in my head. The skeptic side of me was saying, how can you possibly be talking about abundance right now? How can you encourage people to build beautiful lives when the world feels so chaotic? Wouldn't it be tone deaf to encourage people to go after their dreams, to go after the beautiful life they want, to go after all of the things that would make their life more exciting, more experiential, more abundant? Isn't that tone deaf? Shouldn't you be more serious, Jennifer? More alarmed? More heavy? And honestly, that voice felt responsible. It felt moral. It felt socially aware. And the believer in me was saying something entirely different. She was saying, life has always been a little bit bumpy. Humanity has always grown inside of instability. And you don't help the world by collapsing with it. And I've been sitting with that tension for a couple of weeks now. So I want to talk about this honestly. Is it tone deaf to focus on building a beautiful life when institutions are wobbling, when politicians are crumbling, when headlines are heavy, when corruption is exposed, and when everything feels so uncertain, when we feel like we're at the bottom of a very dark hole that seems to keep going on and we're not sure when and if it's going to end? And that's the real question. Because I felt guilt. I felt like choosing steadiness meant that I was ignoring something. But here's what I realized. My anxiety does not fix corporation. My anxiety does not fix corruption. And my outrage does not create justice. And my nervous system spiraling does not stabilize the world or my family or my friends or even myself. But my steadiness, that's how I can change. That's how changes happen. And that changes how I live. It changes how I parent. It changes how I build, how I vote, how I influence, and how I show up. The skeptic might say, you should feel heavier right now, Jennifer. The world is a very dark place. But the believer in me says, you should feel grounded because the people around you need that. Your family needs it. Your friends need it. Your spouse needs it. Your boyfriend needs it. Your siblings need it. And those are very different energies. So here's what I think these times actually need. And I guess this is where I've landed. These times don't need more chaos. They don't need more loudness. They don't need more shouting. They don't need more interrogation. They don't need more manipulation. They need more regulated people, more thoughtful people, more steady people, more grounded nervous systems inside of people. Because dysregulated people make reactive decisions. And listen, I'm guilty of being reactive. I'm guilty of feeling all of those feels. And when we are dysregulated, we don't make the best decisions. Regulated people make strategic decisions. If the world feels upside down, or as my mom used to say, a little bit bumpy, then the calling isn't to panic. It's to steady ourselves. History is always going to be full of instability. And I think it's interesting now that I look back on my upbringing where my mom always said, keep calm and carry on, which we all know was propaganda put out by the British government back during the war. But they did need the people to keep calm, or panic would have been their ruin. History has always been full of instability. And simultaneously, people still fell in love. They still had babies. They still started businesses. They still built wealth. They still created art. They still raised their children. They still planted gardens. They still expanded. Expansion has never waited for perfect conditions. In fact, we know thousands of stories where some of the greatest leaders in life found their start in the darkest of times, in the worst of economies, in the bottom of heart, in the bottom of where the heart lives. So, there's a believer and a skeptic inside all of us. And here's what's fascinating. Every single one of us has this believer versus skeptic dialogue happening internally all the time. The skeptic says it's irresponsible to feel good right now. It's naive to trust the government, anybody. It's privileged to focus on yourself. How dare you? But the believer says you're allowed to build anyway. You're allowed to guard your nervous system. You're allowed to do things that make you feel good. We all need to be doing things right now that make us feel good because the news makes us feel so bad. And we're allowed to live beautifully, even now. That skeptic is fear-based protection, but the believer in us is grounded trust. Not blind optimism, not delusion, but perspective. The believer says chaos and beauty coexist, and the skeptic says you gotta pick one of them, but you don't, and that's the illusion. We cannot have the day without night. We don't recognize and appreciate a holiday without a work week. We do and can live with both. So here's your invitation. This is what I'm choosing. I'm choosing steadiness, not because I don't see what's happening, but because I do see what's happening. And I understand that my internal posture matters. I am choosing to build a beautiful life, even when it gets a little bit bumpy. I am choosing to guard my attention. I am choosing to guard my nervous system. And I am choosing to guard my focus and what I focus on. Because what I rehearse emotionally, I live physically. And if I rehearse collapse all the time, I will feel and attract collapse. If I rehearse steadiness, I build from steadiness. So if you've been feeling guilty for wanting more in these tumultuous times, for wanting more peace, for wanting expansion, for wanting something else, something more, something new, this is your permission. You're not tone deaf. We are not tone deaf. You are choosing strength, and strength is needed right now. So, closing off here, Sharon will be back in a few weeks to challenge me properly. But until then, I'm going to debate what's happening inside of myself by myself a couple more times. And until then, maybe you can notice the debate that's happening inside of you. Ask yourself, which voice am I feeding? The skeptic one that says collapse is responsible. It's the responsible thing to do, to collapse into these headlines. Or the believer in you that says steadiness is powerful. Life might be a little bit bumpy, but beauty is still available. And I, for one, am going to choose to build anyway. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again.
Thanks for tuning in to Manifest This, Believer versus Skeptic. If you enjoyed today's conversation, share it with a friend, believer or skeptic. And don't forget to leave us a review so others can join in the debate. Plus, check out Jennifer's TikTok account, Manifestation RX, where she writes daily prescriptions for manifesting your dreams. Think practical tips with a dash of magic. We love hearing your questions and stories, so tell us what you're manifesting or questioning this week. Until next time, keep an open mind and maybe manifest a little magic.